All right, yesterday, during the free agency frenzy on the Pat McAfee show, Adam Schefter was joining the program, and the Browns came up, and Schefter gave a little, we'll call it insight into the Browns quarterback situation. Pat asked him, what's going on with the Browns, and this is how they answered.
What's Cleveland doing?
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Okay, Shedeur Sanders.
Pro Bowler.
They have Deshaun Watson. And by the way, let me say this. There are people out there, and we'll see how it unfolds, but there are people out there who believe that Deshaun Watson could very well be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
I saw him doing running back drills.
He's getting
I saw him
paid.
doing
He's
running back
fast.
drills.
He's getting paid.
He's definitely getting paid, and I do appreciate the fact that he's like, you know what, I will give this thing a go again that's paying me $230 million guaranteed. Let's go ahead and try this out. Because at one point, when Deshaun Watson was playing good football, boy, it was awesome football to watch.
Yeah.
We were down there in the AFC South watching when he was with the Texans. There was a time where J.J. Watt was walking off the field after the last game of the season, and he looks at Deshaun Watson. He goes, so sorry we wasted one of your years, man. There was a time where this guy was being described as the Michael Jordan of football.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, a lot happened. Lot happened off the field. A lot happened on the field. It was a very long, dramatic, very serious and intense stuff that took place. So mentally, was he ever going to be able to get back to being a quarterback, especially whenever you're sitting on super satin sheets, the most satin sheets in the history of NFL with your fully $230 million guarantee? Will you ever be able to get back to that? We hadn't seen it. We hadn't seen it. We didn't expect it. That would have been the mental toughness level to be able to get back to being elite QB while getting paid as much as you have without playing for as long as you had and with all the work that it takes, especially going to a different. It's like, I thought that was going to be tough to see him play football after he took that long off, but maybe he's hit a point in life. One last go here. One last time to lead a team. And the Cleveland Browns are a place that do not have a set-up quarterback, so maybe he is able to rewrite the end of his football story, his football life, and maybe that happens with the Cleveland Browns.
So Zach Schefter started that clip saying there are still people who believe it could be Deshaun Watson. They showed him doing running back drills, which I think is a very apt way to put what he was doing in those particular set of circumstances. But Zach, you talk to people in Berea. Is there a belief that maybe Deshaun could be the guy at some point again, or has that book been completely written?
I was told earlier this week, it's pretty much a similar thing, that I am dead wrong and that there is a real belief that Deshaun Watson can play well if he's called upon to be the starting quarterback. I think that is ridiculous. I think that is ignoring the truth, and I think anyone buying that for 1 second, including buying this propaganda video, is just getting fooled. Deshaun Watson is the main reason the Browns are in the spot that they're in. Right? And he would have to play so well even if he plays. And there's zero evidence that he could do that. He's not healthy. He has not been effective. He has never been a leader of this team. He has done nothing but fail the Cleveland Browns over and over again. To go back to this dance and expect him to stay healthy, play well, and play really well to get a young team forward, and then his contract is up, it's a ridiculous thought and would be a complete failure to even explore it. It's a last resort only. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But the Browns are going to be wrong, and it would be failing Shedeur. It'd be failing the rest of the system to intentionally put Deshaun Watson out there.
Week 1 or ever?
Ever, but mostly week 1.
Okay. You said you know the team as well as anybody, and I couldn't agree more with you. But we all know this team. We know the organization.
When you apply logic, it's real trouble.
Right. So when you apply logic to something, do the opposite. That's what the Browns will do. And with that being said, I would not be surprised if he runs out there week 1, nor would you.
No.
Nor would you. So get ready.
Yeah, I think week 1 is probably not going to happen. We're going to see who they add and how they go about it. But don't May and June have to be for Shedeur and whatever other young player are added in there?
I'm not Todd Monken. I don't know.
No, right. You're not. But if I'm Todd Monken and I say I've waited my whole life for this, I can't possibly go in with just Shedeur and Deshaun because I need a fallback. I need to get multiple guys ready. We have to learn. We're building the whole offense. We're building the whole team, a whole program here. But the guy has not been available, has not been effective, was given the keys to the kingdom and the kingdom crashed, has not played football in 23 months by the time the season starts, and it was not playing at a high level or healthy when he was. So why in the world would you think that it's going to change now? And why would anybody base that upon a few videos? Of course he's working out. He's coming back from major injury. Good for him. Yeah. But the money is guaranteed, and he's only on this roster because they could not afford to cut him. The Deshaun Watson trade sank the Cleveland Browns. It is absolutely unbelievable that this front office remains employed because it did the Deshaun Watson trade. And to think you're going to play him and that's going to help you going forward, it's absolutely a ridiculous thought.
I would just tell him he's on paid vacation, man.
Exactly.
I do think it's not a coincidence that people are starting to spread the fact, and like you said, you heard from someone in Berea that Schefter's heard it. I know Rappaport's mentioned it. I think Berea or Pelissaro, one of the, it's being spread around. People in Berea are pushing that narrative that there is a chance Deshaun Watson could be the starter again. That is not fake news. They are pushing that narrative. I mean, Zach, you just told us that you talked to someone who's pushing that. Will it happen? I'm highly skeptical.
Do you think that is the Browns on purpose putting stuff out there just to test the waters and see what people, how it would be received if they put him out there again?
Could be. Let me clarify. I was told not that they think that he'd be the week 1 starter, but there is a strong belief that he could play well if needed. Meaning that somebody else is playing well.
Yeah.
But the second thing, Dustin, let's go back to December. There was a Saturday night. It was right before Ohio State and Indiana played in the Big Ten title game. And they used these national insiders, propaganda guys, to push out and say Deshaun's going to be on the team next year. The Browns had a game the next day. They did not use that platform to say we can't wait to see Shedeur play. They did not use that platform to say we're really excited about Shedeur. So we're just going to start to let it leak out now, the bad news. We've gone over the numbers. We can't afford to cut them.
The narrative is being pushed. There's no...
Yeah,
what Schefter
it's being nudged.
Yeah.
Pushed is, but nudged. It's certainly being nudged. Yeah.
What Schefter said yesterday is no coincidence. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It is not a coincidence that all these guys, all of a sudden, are having similar whispers in their ear that at least it's a possibility. Do I think it's gonna happen? No.
Right.
When we've seen Deshaun play in Cleveland, he hasn't been that good. He's coming off multiple Achilles injuries, a shoulder injury that no quarterback has really ever come back from. There's no track record of it. Zach, you were the one who told us that when he was throwing in camp before the Achilles, that it didn't look like an NFL quarterback. So now with 2 torn Achilles and with a torn shoulder, it's going to look better. I don't know. Bull said it best when he was in this chair a couple weeks ago. If Deshaun somehow does play for whatever reason, whether it's injuries, whether he wins a starting job, it's good for the Browns because winning simply is good for the Browns at this point. Any kind of winning is good for the Browns. You could deal with the decision of what do you do with him later? Do you resign? Yeah. All that's down the road. I'm in the business right now of I want to see the Browns be a competitive football team. That's what I personally want. Yeah. So if Deshaun is the guy that helps them get there, then so be it. But I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's the reality of what's going to happen. But I'm also not surprised that we're hearing more and more of these whispers now from certain voices that sometimes are used to push a certain agenda.
Yeah, I've done the strong case against, and that's reality. And as Dustin acknowledged, the Browns don't often live in reality. No. So let's do the counter argument, right? The Browns are spending big to just stabilize the offensive line because that was clearly the glaring weakness, right? Now they have bottom of the league wide receiver group and bottom of the league quarterback group. But the most glaring weakness, and the only way those other groups get better, is to have a little protection there. Yes. Right? They're reinvesting in this defense. They lost Devin Bush, but every other guy is back. Right?
And they signed Quincy Williams.
So they think they fired the coach because they know they wasted a darn near elite defense last year, and they think they should have won more games. They think there should be young development, and they think they're going to have better young player development, and they think they're going to have another good draft. So in that regard, if you think that Deshaun could give you solid play, that he is healthy, he should be all of these things, and that if it doesn't work for whatever reason with Shedeur or whomever else the other option is, that this guy could come in and give you baseline solid play and give you a chance. On paper, I'll buy that.
It makes sense.
It goes against everything I've seen. It goes against all logic and big picture thinking, right? And again, it mostly just goes against everything we've seen for years before you even start adding up the numbers. That this deal sunk you. This deal put you to where you are, to where you're going out and overpaying these old linemen because your other linemen were already... The Browns couldn't cut guys last year because they owed them so much money because they had pushed so much money forward to be good in 24 and 25 for Deshaun Watson. He started 7 games in 24. He did not play in 25.
It's all facts. All facts.
I also don't know how it's received in the locker room. I mean, I'm not saying that the guys don't like him. I'm sure that they like Deshaun Watson. And you know how locker rooms are. You're around your peers. They're not thinking like we are thinking as fans or members of the media. They think a little differently because they're in the trenches with those guys. So I don't think it would be that bad with the locker room. Now, he'd have to play well, which is also a scary thing for the Browns.
Sure, because like I said, it's not
double-edged
just
sword.
It's not just 500 ball. Where does that get you?
I mean, this is.
Right? Unless you can win the division at 8-9, and he can somehow stay healthy.
I mean, he would have to. I mean, what would you do if what if he threw for 5,000 yards this year?
He had.
It's impossible, I know, but
he had the season that we thought when they traded for Deshaun Watson.
He's the Houston 5,000-yard guy.
Yes.
I mean, that's not reality.
I know it's not. I know.
Especially with Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman.
I know, but the Browns don't live in reality, so I'm just like having a fun hypothetical.
Okay. All right, so
everyone's talking about the worst trade ever, blah, 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 blah. What if the guy balled this year, and then you're like, crap, man, we got to extend this guy now?
If they finally found their quarterback, it's a good thing then. If you find your quarterback,
but I'm just this would be 1 year.
It's one more reason it's not even worth entertaining.
Exactly.
If this was your first-round quarterback and he was 24 years old and he had 2 injury-riddled years or had struggled, but you were still invested in him at a low price and you still were riding him, this ship's already sunk. Right? Yeah. You're not floating this down the 3 rivers to go play in Heinz Field, right? You're digging it out of the bottom of the worst of the 3 rivers. Right. And saying, it's not reality. You have to play the rookie. So if Shedeur gets injured or completely fails, right, if there's just not another option, then you have to play this. But at that point, he has to play so well, because why wouldn't you then be playing another young player who could be in your plans?
Everything you're saying makes perfect sense. There's no disagree. Shedeur should start over Deshaun Watson if those are the 2 options. I'd much rather see Shedeur get we talked about Shedeur not getting reps last year.
Right.
I want Shedeur to get all the reps this summer if it's him versus Deshaun Watson. I don't think there's any, based on what we've seen from Deshaun, the ceiling is capped. The ceiling's the floor. Yeah. And it's that floor. It's not the expression of the ceiling's the floor because the ceiling is super high. No. The floor is, at this point, the ceiling based off what we've seen from Deshaun Watson. They paid $230 million for 19 touchdowns since he's been here.
Let me lay out the timeline. So the Browns are going to report in about 4 weeks for the optional offseason program. But when you have a new coach, it's really not optional unless you're Myles Garrett and you just run the organization to start with, right? So they're going to have 6-ish weeks of individual workouts, early offensive implementation, meetings, just everybody getting on the same page, right? Dustin verbiage, installation, what works for you, what is totally foreign here. Then you get out and you have a little bit of on-field work, not competitive, but one-on-one, throwing to your receivers, putting in this new concept. What did it used to be called? Why did we not complete it? Then you're going to get about 10 or 12 practices over the course of a month, minicamp stuff, that's basically simulating real practice, but it's very introductory. Mm-hmm. It's installation. It's no contact to anyone. That sets you up for 5 weeks of training camp to get ready to play games. So probably this organization is on the track that this is for the future. We all know that, right? You got to plug some holes and overpay to do that. But this is about the future. But every time that you're taking these valuable reps away in May, June, July, August from a young player, if you have any hope at all for this young player, even in September, right? And again, the fact that they might start 1-5 clouds everything, because is it the plan or not? But where in this plan is a 30-year-old, oft-injured, completely failed quarterback make you better? Unless he plays at an exceptionally impossible level.
Which I say impossible, but he has shown.
And this is the most important position in sports, right? We're not heatedly debating the 30-year-old offensive lineman and what they still got left, right? Or should they pay Ronnie Hickman or just go get a veteran? Right? We're not debating that because those are secondary things. The importance of whoever the veteran running back is or blocking tight end.
It is the most important position.
It's the most important position in sports. And you might have the worst. You have Geno Smith with the Jets is the worst room. But you certainly have a bottom 4 room. Right? And even if Shedeur improves incrementally, you still have a bottom 8 room. But riding him is your most direct way out, and has been, of the Deshaun Watson disaster. Yeah. And wanting to revisit this disaster, I can't, every time I hear it, I can't believe it.
I've just never seen anybody come off of an Achilles tear and be bigger, stronger, faster. More
2 Achilles tears.
No one's ever been better after an Achilles tear. Maybe an ACL, you can make the Adrian Peterson argument, you can do some other stuff. But an Achilles, and he was already having a rough time on the field when he was healthy.
Correct.
So now you come in,
and the shoulder. And the shoulder, on top of it all.
If you're the Browns, don't put the guy out there.
The only reason.
If he plays well, it will be fool's gold.
The only reason I could even see this being semi-entertaining.
Because it's Jimmy Haslam.
Well, Haslam, but it's also a brand new head coach. And to your point of Todd Monken didn't wait 60 now.
Yeah.
60 years to get this opportunity to go back to that. I hear you.
Exactly. Well, he wasn't born yesterday. You know, he's been around 60 years. He should be smart enough to know that this is fool's gold.
He also is coming in with a blank canvas, and we don't know. He's said good things about all three quarterbacks, including Deshaun, including Dylan, including Shador at the press conferences. We don't know how he feels about these guys yet, truly. We truly don't, and that's why there's even a 0.002% chance that I think this could actually happen. And it's that low. And I genuinely don't think it's any higher than that.
Right.
But because we haven't actually seen Todd Monken on the field, put together his depth chart, it's a brand new head coach coming into a brand new situation saying this could be my one and only shot. And it probably is my one and only shot. And it's with the Cleveland Browns. And if one of these guys has to give me the best chance to win, I want to see him completely even field, play it out. I don't think that makes sense from a development, long-term standpoint of the team. But I could, in the back of my head, in that little tiny ounce of percent, see how Todd Monken could rationalize that in his head.
And I would say good luck to him with that.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that either. That is, to me, I think why all these whispers are being, as you said, nudged. It's a blank canvas with Todd Monken. If I was Todd Monken, if my name was Mike Monken, and I was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns,
it's hope season.
I know where I'm going, but it's hope season, and I guess there's still that one strand of hope left that maybe Deshaun can become the Deshaun they thought they were trading for.